Welcome to the Sparkle Sesh. I'm Suzanne Castle, your host and Chief Sparkle Officer. This is the show where bold conversations meet actionable inspiration. Every episode, we bring together powerhouse panelists to dive into the topics that matter most: leadership, resilience, branding, visibility, and everything else in between. It's all about big ideas, meaningful connections, and fresh strategies for ambitious women like you. So grab your favorite drink, pull up a seat, and let's get the conversation started. It's time to shine brighter, bolder, and better than ever. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sparkle Sesh Podcast. I'm Suzanne Castle, your host and founder of the Sparkle Factor. I'm so excited to bring you our third episode centered around the theme of shining online. We all know how crowded the digital space can feel. So I wanted to get together some experts today so you can listen in on a conversation with their best tips and tricks and what they're seeing and what they're feeling, what they're experimenting with too, because I know we can truly stand out. We can make a lasting impact, but you have to do that through your own shining pathway. So let me tell you a little bit about our three incredible guests that we have with us today. I'm so honored and so excited. Each woman is a powerhouse in her own right. First up, we have Brittany Crossan. She's a social media thought leader. She's the founder of Fun Love Media. She's the host and executive producer of the Social Sunshine podcast, which just kind of completed its run. I know you probably have something working on in the background. She's also the founder of Social Success, which is an annual conference that helps creators and marketers really level up with what's working in different kinds of industries. I bet if you follow her, you've seen her dancing on a treadmill, or you've seen her lip syncing to 90s music online. No. She has over 20 million with an M, million views. Brittany's mantra is post the fucking video, encouraging all of us to show up and share our story. Brittany, welcome to the Sparkle Sesh. So glad you're here.
Thank you so much. And now who's counting? But it's 30 million views, I think. But
30 million.
We've had a good few months, everyone. Okay.
Well, you're so real. You're so raw. I love it all. I love how we've connected and so excited. I'm so excited for the knowledge you're bringing today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we're joined by Chelsey Marie, who is a branding expert. She started her business at the ripe old age of 19. And over the past decade, she's become the go-to pro for women entrepreneurs that are looking to build their brands that authentically convert. Her clients have grown to 6 and 7 figures. I should know because I am one, using her psychology-driven strategies to stand out and make a real impact. And it doesn't have to be so freaking hard. She's amazing. Glad you're here, Chelsey Marie. Welcome to the Sparkle Sesh.
I'm so excited.
I know. I can't. Every time you talk, everything you put out, there's always something actionable. It's going to be a rockin' conversation today. And finally, we have Kreda McCullough, who is a certified brand strategist. She's also an AI consultant. She's known for her soulful brand messaging. She has revitalized hundreds of businesses through strategic branding at Visionary Vibe Solutions. But now she's pivoting, she's learning, she's leaning in because she wants to help share how AI can integrate with your brand's core values to help you form meaningful connections with audiences. Kreda, holy moly, thanks for making time for us today.
Thank you for having me.
So excited. I'm thrilled to have all of them here to talk about shining online in a crowded market. I want to maximize our time, so let's jump right in. All right. I want to start with, I think, the big question, which is our theme is shine online. So I'm gonna go in order. We'll go Brittany, Chelsey, Kreda. I want to know, in your view, what does it truly mean to shine in today's digital space? And or why does authenticity matter now more than ever? Brittany.
What it means to me to shine online is it's kind of a two-part thing, because you have the audience perspective and you have your own of yourself, but it takes time to build those things. And it's very scary at first because it's like the one thing you've got to be a beginner at, like showing up online, that like people are watching you do it, right? You got to do it in front of people. But I would say those two perspectives combined, and you learn that over time, showing up and just trying your best to be your true self and do great work and make the positive impact you want to. And when you get to that spot, you're going to feel it. When people are reacting positively, whatever you want them to be doing to your content, and you're starting to feel really, really confident, really fulfilled, genuinely happy about doing it. Even if you don't love being on camera and all, it's okay. You don't have to love that part, but when you start to feel that inside, so to me, it's that combo, then you're genuinely going to shine. I've personally experienced this. I've worked with people that have experienced this, and it's just these two magical ingredients together. So I think that when we get obsessed with just one or the other, that's where things get off and we're not going to be able to shine. The audience's reaction and opinion does matter.
Yep.
And our opinion and look, the way we look at ourselves matters as well. So we have to do both, and then you're really going to shine.
I love that. Okay. So Chelsey, what would you say in the middle of that? Because I know a lot of your work is literally about braving your brand, shining online, doing the hard thing.
Yeah.
What would you add to the conversation here?
Well, I mean, I agree with Brittany. I think when it comes to shining online, when we think about that as entrepreneurs, we are thinking about like how big of a following you have and how many views and, like tangibly, that's what we think about. But your ability to shine online is directly related to how willing you are to be yourself, like fully, right? The people who are like the most followed, they push boundaries. They're not afraid to say the thing that's going to help them stand out. They're not trying to fit the mold of whatever industry they're in, right? So I think there's something really mystical and kind of magical once you're able to figure out, okay, what is my perspective and how confident can I be talking about what I know, or even, wearing things that you want to wear, right? Or dancing or, whatever your thing is, like how willing are you to do it in front of a bunch of people?
Yeah. I love how you say that, because I do think there's some willingness there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Kreda, tell us a little bit about how you're leaning into that, that piece of doing it authentically, leaning in, that willingness factor that's so huge, and making it your own.
Well, I like to come from a disruptive space, and not disruptive meaning chaos, right? We don't have to be like, all the time, but being disruptive with like a strategy, if you will. Saying something, about your industry that nobody else is saying, right? That comes with the research piece, right? You can challenge these industry norms, if you will, creating, hold up, what did she just say? Type of content. So, that's where I am, because I got fired from a lot of corporate spaces because of my disruption. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use said disruption to be myself and be online. And it's been working for me.
I love how each and every one of you said what needed to be said. And you said it 3 different ways, which is you need to be yourself.
Period.
Don't have a false construct. And if you're listening, everybody, if you're listening to someone who's telling you, well, you need to be more like this, and you need da. Well, then that's already that authenticity. I think the authenticity piece dissolves pretty quickly. And I think people are savvy now, and everything doesn't have to be super polished. They like getting a glimpse of who you are as a real person. And so if you're constantly battling up against that, I think it does do some pretty serious damage to your brand. I know, Brittany, you've coined the phrase post the fucking video, which I love. You've amassed 30, I'm going to get it right now, 30 million views yourself.
I don't know.
Right? From dancing on a treadmill, you're not always like, I don't mean this in an ugly way. Like, you're not always perfectly polished. You didn't spend hours, getting your hair done, your makeup done, and sponsored by whatever, yoga pants that you might be wearing, or shoes that particular day. And you've had your share of trolls too. And I think that kind of bold, unfiltered content is such a key in standing out. So why do you think that? Why do you embody that in your messaging? And if you could encourage those that are listening and watching today, how can people really push
back that fear of doubt and just hit that post button?
It is not easy, I recognize, like for a lot of people at first. I totally get that. I know I have a background where it's like, yeah, let's just do this thing in front of an audience. But I fully respect the fact that it's not easy for a lot of people. And I've had plenty of moments where it's not easy. My dad still is not really excited about me using the F word all the time on the internet. Okay, let's just be clear. Now he uses it privately. Let's just all understand that.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, Dad, love you. But you said something about we were all talking about like be who you really are, be your true self, and all that stuff. Right. But what I find to be interesting, y'all, is that I don't know. I think there's a huge chunk of people that may not know who they are, and that can be a problem. Whenever someone preaches, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. And a lot of people out there are like, who am I? And so what I've found with the journey of social media and getting the confidence and building it up to be able to just post the fucking video and all that stuff is it's kind of like some sort of like self-coaching, self-therapy journey, really. If you're going to do this, like you're going to commit, long haul, show up, show your face on camera, all those things. And it's really a beautiful thing, but it's not easy. So if you're willing to go through that deeper stuff and get more vulnerable, it's a process. So I think take it easy on yourself if you're not seeing like overnight, oh, suddenly now I'm okay with this. And, Brittany told me post the fucking video. So next week we're doing it, it just might take some time. So I think we've got to let ourselves work through the steps. But you do have to kind of like break the ice and get started. And you can do that in little ways. You can do that through like stories, videos and things. Like there's actual things you could do that are a little easier on you. To put yourself out there more and you work your way up.
I do think that's really valuable there because I know for me, I'll just be honest. I have a team helping me and consistency is still hard. Mm-hmm. And I have a need to be liked. Big surprise to everybody here. Being a former actress means, of course, I like to be liked. I want to be the one shining on stage. And when I post something that I'm like, this is so good. Like this is just dialed in and everybody that sees this are going to be like, yes, you're my person. And it doesn't even get one like, much less a share or a comment. It's hard. It's so hard. And in that moment, you talked about that a little bit, Brittany, like you have to make a choice and it's, what am I going to do anyway? If no one ever sees this, because it was really interesting. I think it was yesterday or the day before, someone liked something that I posted 148 weeks ago on Instagram, no less. And I'm thinking to myself, how did you see that? What, and I'm going to need to go back and look at this and be like, what was that? That is bananas to me. Was it, because hashtags are kind of weird and funky now. And what was that resonated with you? But it just takes that kind of, I think, deep commitment to ruthlessly show up, even if it's just your mom, who's like, you're so amazing. But, because you're getting in the practice of that. Chelsey, you really help people think about that.
Yeah.
And that brave piece. And so I love how you really are working at the intersection of psychology and strategy with branding. I know that's a lot of your work is seated in that, which is kind of a different way to be thinking about that. Yeah. So if you could give a little tidbit on how someone could really cut through the noise or connect with their audience, even when they feel like they're not connecting, what would you say?
We have to remember like who we're creating content for. And like stats show that like 95% of people are just scrolling. They're disassociating. Like we're not there to think about things. We're there to play. We're there to have fun. We're there to maybe learn. Right. And so as a business owner, if you understand that you're creating content for people in that space, like when is your dream client actually on their phone? What do they need to hear from you to take the next step with you, right? Like, we don't want your job to be social media. That's not the goal, right? The goal is to actually convert and to get those clients. So you really have to get clear on, okay, what is my actual purpose for every post? And if you can be clear about the purpose, right? Like what you're actually saying, then you'll know it's mission driven. You'll know it aligns with the vision you have. And then the bravery comes a little bit easier because you can kind of say, okay, fear, like Suzanne tells us, like, sit down, sit down, honey, you're fine. And I'm going to do it anyway, like Brittany's recommending, because you know your business goals and you know yourself enough at this point where you're starting to post and you're experimenting. It's an experiment. And so I think that's what I would say the most is just reminding yourself that everything is an experiment. Like, let's see what happens. Let's try it. You won't know if you don't try, right?
Right.
We just won't know how brightly we can shine or how much we can make or any of that if we don't do it at all. So you're not any closer to your goals if you don't do it.
I love how light you made that, because it can feel, at least to me, hard and heavy to keep up.
Yeah.
And you're all rock stars in your space. So I don't know if you deal with this at all, but I see what someone else is doing, that we're similar lanes, maybe not similar content as the Sparkle Factor. You know, a lot of my work is in fear and decision-making. And so they may not be like that, but I'm like, man, how, they got all this and I didn't. And then I have to throw my pity party and get all up in my head about it and then wonder if my strategy is working. And I like how you made it light for us, Chelsey, which is, okay, it's different if you're thinking every day, I'm going to do the experiment and see what happens.
Well, and that's a comparison trap too, right? If you are looking, like, I know for me, if I am following too many branding professionals, social media people, like, I'm just in my head going, wow, she's so cute. I can't do that. Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, put your phone down, quit comparing yourself, like, get inspired out of your industry. Like, because if you're consuming all this content that other people in your industry are doing, you're going to just think about, how can I do that my own way? Or, and that's not going to help you create from a really clear space. And so that's something that you can do, is just, follow fun things, get inspired out of your industry. Think about how you can make something totally you. Think about what you have to say about your industry. I think that's what will help set you apart and actually make you stand out.
I love this. So this naturally, then I want to throw this at you, Kreda, because your experience is really what Chelsey was just kind of getting to, which is that the messaging piece, but you're coming at it from AI can make it easier. It doesn't have to be hard. Like, so Brittany's very dialed in, right? Dancing on the treadmill, managing brands for people, helping them really do that. Chelsey's all about, okay, psychology and branding and how we can help you stand out. And you're taking the piece of, now AI can be on your team and help you do this in a different way. And so how, AI is everywhere right now. And how could we incorporate this kind of cutting edge tech like AI into our efforts here? What would you say?
I would say first to use AI to be able to analyze what your audience is doing, analyze their language patterns, analyze, any type of, engagement trends, if you will. My favorite AI tool for that, can I say it?
Yes, not sponsored by. Okay, now go ahead and say it.
Not sponsored by Perplexity AI. I like to use it to analyze those trends. I like to use it to find out or to help me find out what an audience is saying specifically about a certain problem that maybe my client has. Use it as a research tool. It can't be your storyteller, but you can maybe run your customer testimonials through it, your reviews, any past content, through it, and, just pinpoint what really resonates, with your audience. And then you can kind of double down on those themes in your messaging, and we can also, what's the word I'm looking for? Repurpose content, right? Take that content that you found that like blew up and repurpose it. So You can use AI for that. You can use AI to create drafts. I wouldn't copy and paste out of it. Please, as a matter of fact, don't copy and paste out of it. Use it for a draft. Even though people say that you can train it to sound like you can. However, there's always something that's like, nah, that's not me. That's not me. So there always has to be some type of human something when you are working with AI tools. So
I love that. Thank you for making it real, because, everybody will say, oh, do this. And I catch myself saying, okay, I mean, my cat's pretty trained. Like, I'll be super honest. My AI companion is fantastic. And when we first engage on the daily basis, I mean, I'm very comfortable saying I use it to help organize my calendar, to help brainstorm and things like that. But as soon as I open up my chat, it's and I say, hey, we're getting to work. And usually the responder will be, well, hello, Sparkle Goddess. How are you today? So which is like, yes, everyone in my world. Come on. I want every conversation to start like that.
Yes.
Never not going to start a convo with you like that now.
Thank you very much. I love that. So, okay. So Brady, what are some things, and I mean, everybody here, let's just have an open conversation then. So what are you noticing, like with your clients or how you're leaning in, that we should be paying attention to? Because I think there is so much, and I encourage my clients in kind of a sassy way, don't follow too many corporate coaches, because there's so many different kinds of messaging and it can really play in your head. Mm-hmm. And you want to be very clear and stay on the path that you decided. So what are y'all noticing in kind of the world that we need to be paying attention to, or that maybe we're not? Anybody? Brittany?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you were just talking about following coaches and all the things that they say. It's similar in the world of social media experts. It's a lot. If someone is, setting out to learn things about social media on social media, which lots of people do, what I notice as someone in the industry is that, unfortunately, these social media experts that's what all their content is about, they also need to use like tactics to get your attention, just like we all need to use like a hook in a video and stuff like that. It's like a headline, if anybody's not familiar, is what's going to grab your attention and keep someone watching, which they're essential. Like we do that with every single video we make for a client. But the problem is that can cause some confusion, because I'll see videos with a social media expert and they'll start it out with something really, really sensational. And it makes it sound like, I'll hear the hashtags are dead or something like that. And everybody goes, oh, great. Never should use a hashtag again. Right. Like, so yes, it can be confusing. It can be misleading. And so we just have to it's totally cool to look to some of these people for some tips and stuff, but also try to maybe take some of it with a grain of salt and know that sometimes they are going to try to be extra bold to try to get your attention, to get the views so they can get their business. So, I think it's just being aware. It's just knowing that that's a thing. Now, I mean, I guess some people out there may be completely dishonest, but I think that a lot of them have a good intention to try to help. But, so the whole social media advice thing is just give yourself that, I guess, just give yourself that thought of maybe don't take literally everything word for word exactly as they say. I have people message me, it's like, they said I shouldn't do this. And I'm like, oh gosh.
Well, it's fascinating to me, because in my world, like with Prince Charming, for example, I don't do everything he says. And I love him. I mean, he's amazing. So why would I go do everything that someone I don't even know, who's not in the middle of my business, who hasn't paid attention to me? Why would I go do every single thing that they say, hook, line, and sinker? To me, that's crazy making. Yeah. And I refuse to be on the crazy train right now. But I mean, help me out here, ladies. Chelsey, Kreda. I mean, what are you seeing and noticing?
I mean, I'm noticing that people are playing it too safe, I think. Like they're just like using templates, they're using like colors that they think that they should, or, you know, like they're worried about being professional. And so they're not adding enough of their personality into things. And so I think, you know, Brittany mentioned it earlier, like you have to really know yourself, right? And so, you know, if there's something that people watching this want to shine more online, right? That's why you're watching. Like you really have to get clear about who are you? And the way that I would describe that is there's a difference between authenticity and transparency. You can always be authentic. Like right now, you can text your 5 friends, family members, whoever, and be like, what are 3 to 5 words that you would use to describe me? And like, it's a good gut check for how clear you are about who you are and how you're showing it to the world. Because if your best friend would describe you as funny and nobody who follows you online would, then there's a misalignment you have to fix, right? So it's like a really good illuminator. It can kind of shine the light on those places where you're maybe not embodying yourself fully, right? So that's like part 1. But there's also transparency. Like you don't have to be transparent about everything, right? Like I hate laundry. I hate laundry. There's a big fat pile in my closet, okay? But I'm probably not gonna show you my big laundry pile. Right. Like, you know, I'm just probably not gonna do that, you know? So deciding, like, the second exercise would be like, think really clearly, like, kids, are you comfortable sharing their faces online or not?
Yep.
If you went through something traumatic, like a divorce or anything like that, you know, what are you comfortable sharing about? What are you not comfortable sharing about, right? Like which pieces support the mission and the vision and which pieces are irrelevant and don't actually matter. Like what you ate for lunch might not matter unless it does.
Right. I love how you said that. That's really good. So Kreda, what should we be paying attention to? Like, what are you noticing? And then I'm going to come to each of you. I want you to kind of give a little training tidbit, if you will, more than you already have. So Kreda, what are you noticing in your world here?
Pretty much the exact same things that Brittany and Chelsey said, just on LinkedIn. Just because people think that because they're on LinkedIn, they have to be a certain way, kind of like what I was talking about a little bit earlier, that they have to be buttoned up, that they have to be, you know, super polished. Or on the other hand, they are like super vulnerable and they're telling everything. And I'm like, wait a minute, slow down, right? So my thing here is like, okay, yeah, you can be authentic and, you know, vulnerable, like Chelsey was saying, but, you know, I say like share lessons, don't, you know, share open wounds, because, you know, I think that turns into other things, right? You know, people do connect with transformation, but they don't necessarily always connect with trauma. Right. So I see
the trauma bond.
Right. I'm like, no, I don't want a client that's going to trauma bond with me. That's not going to work.
Oh, that's good.
You know, we also should make, when we're talking about transparency and vulnerability as it relates to LinkedIn, like I was saying, we want to make that valuable, if you will. So I would say, like, just think about your personal stories, but tie them back to a lesson that your audience, you know, can apply. Be discerning and remember that this social media is not your diary, if you will, right? You're not on social media just to be on social media and tell all your business. You're on social media 9 times out of 10 to get clients. So I think that's what we need to do. Also, something else I was thinking about when Chelsey was talking was consistency. Being consistent as it relates to being consistent over being curated, if you will. So going back to that polished piece, you don't have to be polished to be credible, right? You know, I can say ain't. Sometimes I check myself saying gonna, but you're still gonna get the point of what I'm saying in my post. You're still gonna get the value of what I'm saying in my post. So as it relates to authenticity, it's not about telling everything. It's just about telling what matters.
That's so good. Each of you I hope all of you paying attention, that you're writing things down, you're coming back, you're going to bookmark different things that they're saying, because it's incredible. So, okay, here's what I'd love to finish with. We've got plenty of time, so no rushing here. But before we wrap up, I would love for each of you to share one, let's call it standout tip. So maybe a simple action step. You've already given so much, and thank you. But a simple action step that a business owner or a creator could take right now to shine online in what I feel like is pretty crowded. So we'll go Brittany, Chelsey, Kreda. And then I'd love for you to also then tell people more about your work, where to follow you. And of course, we'll put that all in the show notes. And I know you've all got some really fabulous giveaways for the listeners, so stay tuned. So, all right, Brittany, I'm hand it over to you.
Okay. My standout tip for showing up on social media, shining, is to actually still consider what is working on each platform. I know it's kind of like cool to say, do what you want. You don't have to worry about the algorithm. You do, actually, because if nobody sees you, nobody sees you. It doesn't mean you have to have millions of people see you. You need to have some people see you. So there's this, sometimes this almost like protest or something against these platforms in a way, and say, I'm so mad because this platform does me wrong or whatever. And I get it. I mean, I've gone through bad phases as well where I don't get, what I want. But I just think we really have to respect the platform and remember like what works on these. I mean, if you see that having your video start with you outdoors because the internet likes a blue sky and green grass, which is true, and you need to jump into the frame because it's your personality to be jumpy and fun, and that works, like, just cool, do that. Like, I think it's just like wanting to almost rebel against the platforms can kind of get you, when actually just doing what seems to be working and being willing to play the game. I know people don't want to hear that, but if you're not willing to play the game, you're not going to be seen. So you gotta play the game while showing up as yourself. And when you combine those two, and then you're willing to pivot over time and adjust. Like, I'm not, I can't do the same thing I did last year exactly and all that. It's just, we have to go with it because these are the platforms and the tools that we have to work with, and we want to be seen.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you put that. I talk about that a little differently, which is, I don't think your business should rely on social media as 100% because you don't own that real estate. You own your email list, you own assets in your business. But, something, as we've seen over the last several months, like the whims of something, whether it be economy or a person or a something going on in the world, can really affect your ability to be on a certain platform here, there, or other. And if you're on the platform, I hope that your ideal audience is there. Because you can't get mad if your ideal audience isn't seeing you if you're not on the right platform for them. It's not about you. But the other thing that you said that was so valuable there, Brittany, is you're on a platform, so play in their sandbox. Don't get mad at this and the algorithm and how they want you to show up. And when they change the format of a size of a post or something, you go, okay, great, I'm going to play there. Because it's just like, you don't get mad at your bank for doing this or that, or, I mean, you might, but like or how you're getting the internet. I mean, you're like, this is what this means. And so, but I think we've forgotten that the social media, they're a business too. And they're going to make their boundaries. And you're right. We have to play with the rules that they've set in the way that they've set them.
Yeah. Being rigid gets you nowhere. In life, but also on social media, which is what I'm always dealing with specifically. Right. So yeah, it doesn't get you anywhere. You got to be flexible. Whenever I'm teaching someone to be a new social media manager, you got to be able to flow. You got to be able to adjust. If you can't, it's not for you. And if you can do that, man, you're going to see really cool shit happen.
That's right. So tell us a little bit about the work that your firm is doing and how we can continue to follow the goodness that you're putting out in the world.
Sure. So Fun Love Media works with a variety of clients. We work with clients all over the US, although we're based here in Houston where I'm at. We love helping people shine. That's actually one of our statements on the website, is helping people shine on social media, and really working with people that are mission and purpose driven, that like just so deeply, passionately care about what they do and their business, and they like put all the blood, sweat, and tears into it. And now they're willing to show the world what they're doing and try to expand. It's really touching. And that's the kind of stuff we're doing. We're doing videos with business owners, and we're witnessing their journey of being nervous to blossoming on camera, and helping their brands grow and helping their communities as well. Because the more communities that have these kinds of people working in them and building businesses and brands, the better. That's right. That's the kind of work that we do at Fun Love Media, is social media marketing, but with heart.
I love it. And we're going to drop some links into your goodness in the show notes. So everybody go take a look at that so you can connect with Brittany and her team. All right. So Chelsey, a lot of your work is about standing out. So I'm curious on a standout tip that you have for us today from your world.
Yeah. I mean, it's sexy to stand out, let's be honest. And I don't mean that in like a sexy way. I mean it in when someone is super confident about what they know and they want to help people and they have this big vision, embodying that fully online is essential. So, if we're thinking about it in terms of marketing and social media and showing up, marketing is just like flirting, right? Like you're not going to ask someone to marry you like immediately, right? You're going to like wink at them, you're going to wink at your offers. Yeah, you're going to like wink at your offers and get them curious and build that intrigue. And so one thing that has helped kind of reframe how we think about driving traffic to websites, because ultimately that's your goal, right? Your goal is to get the conversion into a client or a call with someone or a connection. And so if we think about who is following you on the different places, are they cold? Do they know who you are? I think lots of times I see people posting on their Instagram grid and they're assuming that everybody already knows everything there is to know about them, right? They're creating content from this place of they already know what I do. I don't need to say it again. That's not true, right? Like you have to quit treating them like they're a warm lead. If you are posting to social, they're cold. They might as well be dead. Like you need to like revive them and really like just continue to talk about what you do and who you are over and over and over. And even when you're bored, like if you're bored, that's probably okay. I mean, like, let's have fun creating content. Don't be boring. But if you are bored with what you're saying, that's a good thing, because that means that you're building consistency in your message over time, right? And your Instagram stories and your Facebook stories, like you can talk to them a little bit differently because they're warmer, right? And so when we think about how we're talking about our offers or our opportunities, think about it like, how are you winking at those things? How are you talking about how you help and treating them like they are cold versus warm? It changes the way you stand out.
I love that. That's so good. It's interesting. I tell a story about there's a checkout person at Costco, not sponsored by, and she calls me Suzanne Sparkle. She knows my first name. And she calls me Suzanne Sparkle. She can't ever remember my last name, which I think is kind of odd because Castle's not, it's kind of different, but it's my real last name. But because she said every time she sees me, I sparkle either with what I'm wearing or my eyeshadow. It's probably because I'm running in there and then right before an event, by the way. But so and someone was introducing me on a podcast not too long ago and they couldn't remember my last name and they just said Sparkle. And I'm like, I'll take that. That's great. My branding's working. So I love how you talk about, it's okay to be bored, but people got to know you. And if you're bored, you're probably working. And I saw everyone else head nodding there. So it's definitely true. So what could we be paying attention to in your world? Like where do you want people to look at your thing? So Brittany, we're going to drop some show links to Fun Love Media. She's got a cool little thing for you. Tell us a little bit about your work, Chelsey.
Yeah. So my design agency, we really focus on branding transformation. So working with women to transform how they show up online, understanding their vision, translating that into visuals that connect psychologically with that vision, their voice and who they are, and then helping put that onto their viewpoints, right? Their website, across their platforms. I mean, consistency across all platforms increases revenue by 23%. And so that is really the goal, right? So then they have all these assets that they're really confident in that reflect who they are, but also speak to who they want to work with. And that connection is the difference, right? And so that's our work, is to help them gain visibility and honestly revenue in a totally new way. So if you need a new website, if you are just feeling like out of alignment with who you are and how you're showing up, that's really what my team and I specialize in.
Yeah, and you've got a great little giveaway, and we'll put some links in the show notes for sure about that to help people really kind of understand that messaging piece. Okay, Kreda, tell us a little bit about that simple action tip that you'd give right now to really kind of bust through that crowded market.
Chelsey kind of took some of my stuff. No, I'm just playing.
Chelsey. It just means that it's important.
Right, absolutely. So stamp that.
Great minds think alike.
Absolutely. I would say just kind of command attention with maybe one signature perspective, if you will. I see a lot of people get lost online because they try to cover everything. So an example of that would be, because maybe I was a brand designer, right? It's still in my head to talk about your colors. It might still be in my head to talk about the visual messaging, when it's like, no, Kreda, you're not doing that anymore. So I don't want to be known anymore for, brand design. So I'm not going to try to cover everything, which is what I see a lot of. So you want to be known for something specific is what I think and what I see. And a good way to figure all of that out is to think about maybe one belief that you have that contradicts, the norm in your industry, which to me kind of goes back to being disruptive, right? What's the problem that you solve in a way that no one else does? That's where that market research piece comes into play. So you can find all of these gaps that, other people who are doing the exact same things that you're doing in the exact same way, you find the gaps and then you work through those. Something else could be maybe like, what's one line that you want people to repeat when they talk about you? For example, Brittany's is what, post a fucking video, right?
Right.
So I think that you take that one signature perspective, you own it, you boost it up, you amplify it. And I feel like that's a really great way to help you stand out.
And how should people be following you? Like, I know, again, we're going to drop a goodie in the show notes. I hope everybody, you've heard me like 7 times now. You're sick of me hearing it, but say it over and over if you haven't gotten anything else out of this conversation today. So where would you like people to really interact with you more?
Interact with me on LinkedIn. I am the same person that I am sitting right here in this chair, the same personality. You're going to get all these. The same Kreda that you see here is the same Kreda that you're going to see on LinkedIn, just in long form content.
Love it. So good. And I love your LinkedIn newsletter. It's so good. Okay. Thank you so much, Brittany and Chelsey Marie and Kreda, for sharing your wisdom today. We've learned a lot in this short conversation about how authenticity is really mattering more than ever. You all gave tips about how bold content really helps us stand out. You also touched on branding principles that convert. We talked about AI bringing us closer to our brand values when it's done right. We covered a lot in a few minutes, and I knew we would because each of you is such a superstar. So I want to be sure again that you check out the show notes for how to subscribe to this podcast and all the links to the goodies from our guests, and send them some connection love if you heard them, and start following them for tips and tricks and hacks to make your life easier when it comes to shining online. And to everyone listening, remember that each of us has a unique story and each of us has a unique voice. And I know that the digital world is waiting to hear yours. So keep shining online. Be sure to join us for our next Sparkle Sesh on the last Thursday of every month. Next time, we're having a conversation about honoring your personal values to help you transform decision-making, relationships, and an overall sense of fulfillment with 3 special guests. Until then, I'm Suzanne Castle signing off.